And welcome on a Friday. Welcome to New Release Friday on Generation Movie. Bear with me. I got a bit of a nick, so I'm bleeding. That's perfectly appropriate on Friday the 13th to be bleeding, though. My name is JW Colwell. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time or if you've never seen our show, please like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, IMDb, all those good places, all those great places to find us. We run something called the Indie Escape Network, which is a independent podcasting network. We have shows like Generation Movie with me and myself and Rich Trees on Monday nights that deals with film history. We'll be doing a special Oscar telecast on Sunday night right after the Oscars when it ends. Also do a loud and nerdy on Tuesdays with some good friends. Just kind of like a pop culture, talking about fun stuff kind of show. The network also has incredible shows bi-weekly on Thursdays. They just did one last night, Untrained and Unscripted with Ryan West and Joe Ridgely. And then next Wednesday, our good friend Gabe will have a Symbolistic Cynicism with a very big guest. And he has the best guests, and it's going to be a good time. So thank you for, you will have Miss Patel on from some movies like Stream and Screamboat and The Brawler and Peeping Tom. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. If you're here, I appreciate you. Again, I'm sorry I'm bloody on a Friday the 13th. This is New Release Friday. So every week I try to get in on Friday nights before all the movies open and give you a heads up on what's hitting the cineplexes and what may or may not be in your area, but mostly big releases. Today we are going to discuss two of them. We are going to discuss Undertone, which is A24's new scariest movie you'll ever see of the year. And then Studio Ghibli is re-releasing KIKI'S Delivery Service. I saw it in IMAX yesterday, and I just wanted to take time to revisit what is a wonderfully, pleasant Japanese animation from Miyazaki. And so let's start where everything should start on a Friday. Let's start with the new release first, like the movie nobody knows about yet, because KIKI'S Delivery Service is kind of a specific kind of, we know what it is. But what I would say is that we're kind of in a good place with this new movies coming out. Okay, so Undertone is the movie we're going to discuss first. The poster says it all: the scariest movie you'll ever hear. Really interesting, fun, kind of a mental exercise. How much can you possibly take kind of a movie? If you don't know anything about it, it deals with a podcaster who does a podcast with her friend who lives in England. So she has to get online at 3 a.m., which everybody knows is the true witching hour. And basically they do a scary podcast about all things creepy called Undertone, and they get sent an email that has 10 specific sound bits to listen to. And as the movie progresses, weird things start to happen. Evie is the main character. She is a woman that is taking care of her sick mother, who is upstairs at all times, but is bedridden and is on her last legs. So she has nurses. It's kind of a hospice care situation. So when things start happening around the house, of course, it goes crazy. Now, this is the first-time director, right? The first-time director's name is Ian Tuason, is what I'm going to go with. Movie was bought by A24 at Fantasia, which is one of the big horror film festivals, and it's just getting released now. And here's the thing: it is almost micro budget. It's about an hour and 34 minutes, but it is a master class in what you can do horror-wise with tension, sound, and negative space. And what I mean by that is, I don't, if you guys don't know or not, you may or may not know, but basically, when you're watching a movie, like say Citizen Kane is a perfect example of democratic filmmaking, where you can watch all 4 quadrants of the movie at any given time and pick what you want to look at. Perfect example would be the scene where Charles Foster Kane is is taken away from his parents. So there's a drunk father in one corner, there's a lawyer with the mother, Charles Foster Kane's out sledding in the background, and then there's another character over here that's kind of watching the proceedings. You can pick which one you want to focus on. This movie is a masterclass in negative space. So you're constantly, like, they're doing shots, framing shots like Evie on her podcast, like this one here, and it's kind of cut off, but basically there are things going on the right side of the screen, the left side of the screen, and you're constantly looking for stuff. Because, you might hear a noise or you might hear whatever. The noise, the sound design in this movie is incredible. It's a slow burn. I think it pays itself off. There's good things going on all over the place. Good acting. It brings up a real publicized demon, which is always super cool when you can match the folklore to an actual movie. Awesome. And I think most people may come out of it either confused or disappointed, but I think it's one of those movies where it's slow burn, it's all in your head, you're constantly waiting for stuff to happen. The movie that it most reminds me of was like the original Paranormal Activity, where nobody quite knew what they were getting into. And so you're scanning the screen looking for things. This movie has negative space. It doesn't focus, like right now my camera's focused on me. If the camera had space on either side of me, you might think that maybe one of my toys move or something. It's designed in such a way that it wears you down to the point where you're waiting for things to happen. And they may or may not happen. I'm not giving anything away. There's no spoilers. But basically, Evie and her friend, Justin, who are doing this podcast, they start doing all the different sound bites, and they play it for their podcast, right? And so they're taping, and then Evie is also dealing with the fact that her mother is really sick. She's also dealing with the fact that she is pregnant. So there's a lot of things going on. And what I would say is it is a masterclass in how to do more with less and put all of the onus on a horror film on the audience. So the audience, whatever you bring to the table as like a person who's watched horror films or likes horror films or what you're scared of, becomes what the movie kind of jars you into its existence. I think a lot of audiences aren't going to be knowing what's going on. They're going to be creeped out by it. It is creepy. It is a slow burn, though. It's not a fast horror film. It works very hard to ingratiate you into Evie's world of this young podcaster by herself with her mother, whose only real connection is either the boyfriend that's not showing up to help her or the guy that's across the pond that's her best friend that is doing this podcast with her, where they're staying up to all hours of the night at like 3 a.m. because he's in London. So it's you can say it's a coincidence, you can say whatever you want, but basically the script is very tight. It is well written. They introduce a demon that's, I think people will be talking about for a long time. That has, as far as I can tell, the research I've done has a basis in reality, has a basis in reported, reports of this particular demon are documented online. You can look them up. So the best kind of folklore horror films are the ones that come from actual folklore as opposed to a made up folklore. I appreciate a made up folklore, but if you can tie something into a horror film that has a basis in reality, it makes it, first off, you're doing your research as a filmmaker, and I appreciate that. And secondly, you're making a movie where it's very tense. Like I said, Evie is a podcaster. She lives by herself. She's only got her mom with her. And as things play out, like things start happening in the house, lights start burning out, water faucets get turned on, things start happening around the house to the point where the two podcasters decide maybe we shouldn't listen anymore. And, it creates the most out of absolutely nothing, to the point where you're the one that's focused on whatever you're looking for. And it's either Evie is imagining it, her podcast partner is also imagining it, or the audience is imagining it. It's whatever it is, the tone and the overall aura of this film that it creates is really quite engaging. And I just think it's one of the better movie. Podcast is already a bloodbath. Yeah, it is, Ken. I got nicked. And I'm on a blood thinner, man. As you know, as you get older, you get a little bit in the weeds on drugs, and now I can't stop it. It's just, anyway, it's Friday the 13th. What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Ken? What I'm most impressed with, there's a really good performance in the movie by the lead. Her name is Nina Kiri. She's been in a few things, mostly known for playing in The Handmaid's Tale. And she was, a couple things. She was in like a Disney Channel movie. She has never really, come forward, but she is one of those people, she has been part of A Handmaid's Tale. She's been in a couple small movies. This is her first big movie, and she's very good. She's joined by Adam DeMarco, who plays Justin, her podcast person. He's had a lot of stuff going on. He's been in The Magicians on Sci-Fi. He's on The Order on Netflix, The White Lotus, Overcompensating on Prime. So he's got a lot of things going on. A younger actor. But here, when you talk about the director, this Ian Tuason, who hasn't really made any movies or anything, this is a first time out where he's making this movie, and it's very scary. It's very good. He's had a very small career thus far, but this is his directorial debut, and right out of the bat, it was bought up. He'd done some shorts that he directed, and that's basically it. A bunch of shorts on video. The Occurrence on Hollow Road, the Closet, Erased, Extreme Close-Up, Pirates Are Bad People, and Continuity Problems. So he's done a bunch of small things, and this, as a first-time director, it is a knockout. It's the kind of thing where we're going to be looking for this guy and the movies he's making, because I just think it's a very successful movie. Now, interesting thing. Its budget is minuscule. It is a $500,000 budget. It was bought by A24, who have become kind of like the home for elite horror right now. They're making all the important horror films are A24 films, and so it's going to be out there. They know how to market these movies. They know how to get people to them, and once people find them, 9 times out of 10, the A24 horror films people end up really liking and becoming cult movies, where you kind of just are there in on them. But this one is really good. It puts a lot of pressure on the audience. It uses negative space that is not really kind of a way people use things. he uses, shots where you're looking at something not center of the screen, and so your eyes divert to left or right, and your eyes play tricks on you. We're humans, and we're watching this big screen where pictures are flapping at 24 frames per second, and so your eyes start playing tricks on you. Then he mixes in a really great sound design where you don't necessarily know what you're hearing, where they're playing children's music backwards, like Baba Black Sheep, London Bridge is Falling Down, and they weave all of those historical things and music and kids, things that are for kids that are actually based on terrifying things, and they do the research for us, and it creates this atmosphere where you don't know what is going on. And it only costs $500,000 to make. I know I say only $500,000, but that is a drop in the bucket. And from what I see, it's already grossed $1 million at Thursday Night Previews. So it's already made its budget back and $500,000 in profit. Now, A24 did pay a pretty sum. Nobody knows how much A24 paid for it at Fantasia, but A24 got the worldwide distribution rights in a 7-figure deal. So it's got A24's marketing behind it. It's got a really good concept. It's got an interesting, kind of a unique, not necessarily focused on the picture you're seeing, but what you're hearing. And the director uses really intricate shots that are negative space, where your mind is filling in the blanks, because you can't imagine a screen like a director would leave those spaces blank for no reason. So you kind of start imagining things like, why is that? Why should I be focused over here? Should we focus over here? I don't know where I'm supposed to be focused. It creates this tension within you. Negatives would be, it is a really slow burn. And I don't know that the ending, first of all, I don't know that all audiences are going to get the ending. Secondly, I don't know that the slow burn will pay off for an audience who, for the most part, usually needs and demands answers and an explicit what happened here. Undertone doesn't give that. Undertone gives us big scares, atmosphere, negative space, excellent sound design, incredible editing, a really good performance with essentially two leads, one who's not on camera at all, and one who's the only one on camera. So you're in her plight. Is it in her head? Is it in your head? You don't know. And so Undertone, for that reason, I think at this point becomes the best horror film of the year, until we see more things coming out. It's unique and it's different. Director using negative space, the director using sound design to scare us. The person I was with tapped out. They got to a certain point and they just couldn't handle it anymore. And he had to leave. So Undertone, Evie's story, I think people are going to be talking about it. I don't know that it dethrones Hoppers this weekend, but I think it will do well enough to justify its purchase at Fantasia, and it will certainly do well enough with horror fans, where I think they'll come out of it going, it's really interesting horror, because it's not anything like you've ever seen, and again, focusing on the audible, focusing on what you're hearing, focusing on negative space, tricks that fool the human mind, is a great way for a horror director to not only produce a great horror film, but it's also a great way for a horror director to keep that budget low and put the money where it needs to be. I think people will be talking about it. I think it's really good. And I think, like I said, the folklore of the movie, and just how, kind of ties in very heavily to historical stuff and Catholic teachings, I think it's going to do very well this weekend. So if you like horror films, this is the movie of the weekend for you. with a pretty good reveal. And like I said, I think some people might get frustrated with it because it is a slow burn, but I think it's a justified slow burn that delivers maximum tension and atmosphere in an itty bitty package. So go see Undertone. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's one of it's certainly original. So if you're sick of franchise movies, you're disappointed with Scream 7 or whatever, Undertone is an original horror film with really cool concepts that tap into the imagination and tap into the things that the human mind does on its own, where our semi-conscious beings that we are, it taps into all of that. And like I said, it's got some really cool background and folklore as well. The other movie that's playing around the country this weekend is Studio Ghibli's KIKI'S Delivery Service. And if you've never seen KIKI'S Delivery Service, it is a wonderfully imaginative kind of a Japanese animated film from Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. And it's just this really great, this great little movie where this young girl who is the daughter of a witch leaves home at the age of 13, as she is supposed to do. She flies on a broomstick. She has a black cat that in the American version is voiced by Phil Hartman. Kiki is voiced by Kirsten Dunst. Phil Hartman, it made me... and again, there are so many people who go to the movies who don't necessarily know who Phil Hartman is. But Phil Hartman was one of the great SNL performers. He made it into a lot of movies. His voice was incredible. His characters on SNL are incredible. Go back if you want to go and watch them. And so when he popped up here, I was both sad and also incredibly pleased because he plays her cat named Gigi, and it's absolutely fun and amazing. But the movie follows a young witch who goes on her way. What she's supposed to do at 13, full moon. She leaves her parents, her dad, who's a regular human, and her mom, who's a witch, and she goes out into the world and finds her own little city where she can perform witchcraft for a year before she'll go home. Now, Kiki leaves home, but she isn't necessarily the most talented witch. She's not into potions like her mom. She is the one thing she does very well, kind of well as a witch, is flying. So when Kiki gets to this very big city by the ocean, her job becomes a delivery service where she can get people who want things delivered. She can deliver them very fast because she's on a broomstick and she can travel fast. And so Kiki is just one of those characters that is just young, full of life, full of ebullience, just, has her cat, wants to go out, wants to find her own way. And, is a great role model for young girls, is a great role model for anybody, really, about finding your place in the world. She meets a woman who runs a bakery, and they become tied at the hip. And it's just pleasant and happy and fun and gregarious and just, the kind of movie and animation that we don't always get. She meets a young boy. It's beautiful. It's one of the biggest Miyazaki movies. And basically what they did was they dubbed it in 1989. Walt Disney Studios made a dub in 97 as well. So there are various versions of the film floating around. This is the one that was done by Disney, that has Kristen Dunst, Phil Hartman, Janine Garofalo, Matthew Lawrence, all these interesting people and voices. And it's just, we don't often get to see big classic movies released on the big screen. And KIKI'S Delivery Service this week gives us a rare opportunity. It is in IMAX for the first time. So it is impressive to see that animation on a big screen. If you have an IMAX theater in your town, or if you don't, sorry. But it is a great way to kind of go back and enjoy what Studio Ghibli's done, and just kind of bask in these great movies that Miyazaki made that still hit home. My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service. He's the cutting edge when it comes to storytelling. Grave of the Fireflies. All of these movies that he has made. Princess Mononoke. All these movies that he has made are just these testaments to storytelling and beautiful animation and very, very well crafted characters that exist in a perfectly, kind of whimsical world. Sometimes the worlds are dangerous. Sometimes this world is not particularly dangerous, except for some dirigible stuff and some bad things with flying bikes. But it is, Kiki she's out. She wants to make her mom, who's a witch, proud, but she also wants to kind of find her own place. And it's a whimsical world. It's a simpler time, and it's the kind of movie that you can go and see and kind of just realize how things were better in a simpler time. And I just think seeing Kiki the Mulholland Drive with Totoro, the summer classic anime Studio Ghibli night, May 15th. Raven, I saw it again. Again, I hadn't seen it in a long time. And it's just so ebullient and so full of life and so not dark. So wholesome, Chris. So wholesome. Exactly, Chris Elkins. It's just a different time where we weren't constantly fighting or bitter or jaded or jealous, and it's a movie of its time. It's again, I had a very good time. Again, seeing Phil Hartman again, or hearing Phil Hartman again, for me really tugged at my heartstrings, because I grew up an SNL fan that loved Phil Hartman, and he was taken from us far too soon. Chris Elkins, remember when we talked earlier about the person who couldn't handle Undertone? Chris Elkins, the opposite of Undertone. That movie is straight up horrifying. Chris is the one that couldn't make it through. He's my good buddy that I go to the movies with. Damn autocorrect. But yeah, it's so. Kiki's Delivery Service is a rare opportunity to see a classic Studio Ghibli movie in IMAX, which I think people should take the opportunity to do. Bring your kids. Really great. Amazing. Undertone, and wrapping everything up, as we've already gone a half hour. Undertone, again, original, well done, using basic things to scare us. And I think it has potential to be, right now it's one of the scariest movies of the year. It could be there by the end of the year, but we'll see what else comes out. A24 is really good at finding these movies. Shoestring budget, $500,000 is all that was spent on Undertone. One actor on screen for most of the time. The mother is another actress that is there, and also a nurse that shows up once, and then other actors are almost all voices. So it's a marvel of filmmaking in the sense that it's very cheap. One character, everything's done with sound design and camera work, creating this atmosphere where your own mind as an audience member is playing tricks on you. Fun stuff, good horror, well done. And then Kiki's Delivery Service, if you want something classic and wholesome and unique and awesome. The kind of movie you can't just close your eyes, you can feel the horror in your bones. That's very true, Chris. And you can hear it in your bones too. But so you got these big movies coming out this week. Big weekend next week. Big Friday, new release Friday, as we have Project Hail Mary and Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, both opening next week. If you like what you saw today, like and subscribe. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, IMDb, Twitter, whatever the crazy person's calling it this week, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places for Indie Escape Network. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, we have a whole host of shows. Generation Movie on Monday nights, although there won't be a show this Monday night, but there will be a live Oscar show after the Oscars get over on Sunday night. The moment Conan O'Brien leaves the stage, we will be going live. We also have Loud and Nerdy on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. With a lot of good folks. Every other Thursday on Trade and Unscripted with Riot, Ryan West, and Joe Ridgely, and Gabe with Symbolistic Cynicism coming up next week with a promising young actress. Gabe gets some really good guests. Thank you for joining us today. Last comments as we close out. No other comments. That's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see everybody next week at New Release Friday. Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not, Here I Come 2. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, I should say. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. Go see a movie.